Hello everyone, today we are doing a pop art inspired artwork inspired by Roy Lichtenstein and his comic approach to artwork. We are going to be focusing on onomatopoeia words, which are action words, and those words are words that describe an action, kind of sound like the action. So like pow, wham, bam, fizz, ka-chow, kapow, achoo. But in our artwork, I want you to create that action. So I will put a list of different onomatopoeia words on your Schoology assignment. So check out those and we will discuss them during our Zoom as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a bubble popping. Now I want you to create your own, so you're not going to do the same one as me. You're going to choose something else and create that action. So I'm going to first on my paper, I'm going to create a border because we want this to be like a cartoon, like a comic. That's not a very good border. So everybody's going to be a little bit different. So just use mine as inspiration to create your own. So I'm going to use pop, like a bubble. And I'm going to have a person, let's see, I can either have a person blowing a bubble and having the bubble pop, or I could have some balloons. I think I'm going to do a balloon. So I'm actually going to turn my paper. Actually, I'll keep my paper. I'll turn it sideways. It'll be easier. So you may want to do something else. You could do vroom, like a car. You could have a car chasing off. There's so many different ways. I'll try to have some different options for you to look at just so you can give yourself some ideas. So I'm going to do a balloon. So I'm going to have a balloon. And then I'm going to have a balloon that's popping. So I'm going to write pop really big. And make sure these are block letters. So I'm starting off with a line letter and then I'm going to make it into a block letter. And then I'm going to add an exclamation mark because it's an action. Pow, pop. So I'm going to add some things coming off like pieces of balloon because my balloon popped. It's not there anymore. There's the cord going off. So now I have this, and maybe in the background I have more balloons. You do want to have your main word be the biggest part. So I'm going to outline that. And I do require you to outline it just because we want it to be nice and big and bold. I'm going to add some highlights to these just to make them look more like a balloon. So some other things you could do, like an opening of a pop and have it say fizz, like it's fizzing over. You could do a car going by and it could say vroom, like maybe from the exhaust. You could have a basketball going through a hoop and saying swish. So those are all action words. Try to be creative in creating this. I want to see what you come up with in terms of showcasing that action word. Remember that action word should be nice and bold in uppercase letters and block letters. So I'm outlining my border. I'm struggling outlining today. Now, the next part we're going to do is I'm going to erase my lines and my letters. And you could erase your other lines if it really bothers you. And I'm going to pick out colors, and I'm going to pick out colors for my pop. I'm going to do red, I think. Let's see if I have my red. And I'm going to do dots. Now, you're probably like, why dots? Well, the artist that we're looking at, he used a system of dots called Ben-Day dots, which were actually created in the 1960s, 1950s when they were coming out with comic books. Because in the comic book world, they couldn't, at the time they started, they couldn't make flat color. They had to do a cheaper way, which was creating these dots that are close together, but not touching each other. So that when you look at it far away, it still looked like that color, but it wasn't flat color, so it was cheaper to produce. That means people didn't have to pay that much to get cartoons and comics. So I'm going to do red for pop because I want it to be nice and bright and bold. And I'm going to do dots. As you can see, all my dots are not the same. It's okay. You are not a machine, so you're not going to have all the same dots. I'm not even going to have all the same dots. And now I'm going to choose a color. I'm actually going to do flat color for my balloons. Actually, no, I'm going to do dots. Dots for my balloons. Half of this should be dots, and then the other half can be flat color. So I'm going to do dots for my balloon, and then I'll do a solid color for my background. So if you have a big space, you still need to include the dots. You can't just do the dots for the words. It has to be half the stuff that's on your paper. You're going to leave your border white, just like in a comic would be. It's usually white, kind of separate from another thing. So I'm going to do orange. Oops. Again, yours should be completely different from mine. Different word, different image. Maybe you did pop, but maybe you did somebody blowing a bubble and then that popping. You have to be creative in how you're creating the action word. You could do like smash or slam and have a door shutting. That's another one. Let's see. You could do cymbals crashing together like the musical instrument and say smash. You could have a dog barking and having it say woof. That's also another one. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and color my background. I'm just going to do blue crayon just so it's easier to fill up my space. You could do soccer, like a soccer ball going into a net and say swish. Bam. Let's see what else you could do. You could have someone jumping into a pool and seeing the waves and say splash. You can use any of these ideas except for the one that I'm doing currently, but you can use any of them. So really think about what your action word or the one that you choose is trying to say, and how would it get there? What action or what needs to be in your picture to show that? Now, as a reminder, there shouldn't be any violence. So no violence, no guns, no blood. Keep it nice. I like to say G-rated, meaning I should be able to have like little kids look at it and be like, oh, I get what it's saying. So be careful what you're doing. Always make sure it's appropriate. If you're not sure if it's not appropriate or appropriate, please make sure you let me know. I'd like you to not try to use characters from movies or comics that you already know. Try to create your own image. All right, so there's my picture.